Ilara sat stranded in her wheelchair at the edge of a decaying wooden pier, icy river water creeping higher around her shoes with every passing second. Thick fog smothered the morning, swallowing sound and sight alike. She screamed for help, but the mist carried nothing back. Just a short distance away, Navy SEAL Caleb Hawthorne was on his routine morning run, unaware that a life-or-death moment was unfolding nearby, until chaos burst from the fog. A small German Shepherd puppy exploded onto the path, barking frantically. But this wasn't playful noise. The pup grabbed Caleb's pant leg with sharp little teeth and yanked hard, refusing to let go. Years of training had taught Caleb to ignore distractions, yet something about the dog's desperation felt wrong. This wasn't mischief. This was fear. Caleb stopped. The puppy released his grip, ran a few yards into the fog, then turned back, barking sharply as if commanding him to follow. The message was clear. Against logic but guided by instinct, the same instinct that had saved him countless times overseas, Caleb followed. They moved through marshland toward a condemned stretch of waterfront known as Tanner's Wharf. Rotting boards and rusted nails emerged from the mist like bones. The puppy raced ahead, scrambling onto a collapsing pier without hesitation. Caleb advanced carefully, testing each step, the tide slamming violently beneath the structure. At the far end he saw her. A young woman sat trapped in a wheelchair, one front wheel smashed through rotten planks. The pier sagged dangerously under her weight as freezing water rushed in. She wasn't screaming anymore. She was fighting, gripping the wheels, trying desperately to free herself. Caleb shouted for her to stop moving. The structure was seconds from failure. He reached her just as the wood cracked beneath them. With no time for finesse, he braced himself, locked his footing, and lifted, hoisting both Ilara and the wheelchair straight out of the collapsing boards. He didn't slow down. Carrying her like gear, Caleb sprinted toward shore as the pier collapsed behind them in a thunderous crash. Wood vanished into the dark water where she'd been moments earlier. On solid ground, Ilara shook violently as adrenaline faded. The puppy jumped into her lap, licking her face wildly. She looked up at Caleb in disbelief. "You carried me. The chair and all." Caleb nodded once. "Come. Controlled." The structure failed, he said simply. But everything in her life had just changed. The journey from the destroyed pier to Ilara's home passed in near silence. Caleb pushed her wheelchair carefully through uneven ground, adjusting constantly to protect her from roots, mud, and jolts. The German Shepherd, Barnaby, stayed close, glancing back as if checking they were all still there. Ilara's house emerged through moss-draped trees, a once grand southern mansion now surrendered to decay. Peeling paint, crooked shutters, and wild ivy revealed neglect rather than elegance. Caleb noticed everything: the slick ramp, the unstable steps, the hazards disguised as charm. Inside, warmth was minimal. Ilara tried to dismiss him, insisting she could manage alone. But Caleb saw the tremors, the early signs of shock. He refused to leave until she was safe, dry, and stable. In the kitchen, frustration surfaced. Cabinets were too high. Floors were hostile. The house fought her at every turn. When Ilara snapped at him for helping, it wasn't anger, it was fear of dependency. She explained her past in fragments. A powerful family. An accident. Their solution: hide her away in luxury care. This house, flawed as it was, represented her rebellion, proof she could survive on her own. When she offered him a check, large enough to erase the emotional debt, Caleb didn't take it. "I don't get paid to protect people," he said quietly. "That's the mission." He told her to use the money to fix the ramp instead. The next morning, power tools shattered the quiet. Ilara discovered Caleb outside repairing the steps. He hadn't asked permission. He had simply identified a failure and corrected it. Neighbors noticed. Judgments followed. One in particular, Mrs. Clara, voiced them loudly. Ilara felt exposed, weak, embarrassed. She demanded Caleb leave. Instead, he whistled for Barnaby. Within minutes, the wild puppy transformed, sitting, staying, focusing. Caleb explained simply, the dog needed discipline to protect her properly. Just like clearing an extraction route, fixing paths wasn't pity, it was preparation. Ilara finally understood. He didn't see her as broken. He saw a mission with solvable problems. She let him stay. Weeks passed and the Vance estate slowly transformed. Paths leveled. Steps reinforced. Hazards removed. But the biggest change was Barnaby. Under Caleb's training, the anxious puppy became steady, alert, and loyal, a true partner. Ilara watched from the terrace, sketching. One afternoon she confessed her former life: ballet. Years of discipline. A career erased by a drunk driver. "I draw now," she said softly. "In stories people can still fly." Caleb didn't offer sympathy. He offered respect. "The accident took your legs," he said. "Not your spine." Later came the invitation to the Charleston Charity Arts Gala. Alara refused at first. She didn't want to be paraded as an inspiration, reduced to tragedy. Caleb didn't push, but his silence challenged her. The night of the gala, Caleb arrived in full Navy dress uniform. Not as a fixer. Not as help. As her escort. At the event, whispers followed. Pity lingered, until someone crossed a line. When a critic dismissed Caleb as hired help, Caleb corrected him with calm authority, naming Alara what she truly was, a national treasure. Then came the music. Caleb asked her to dance. She said she couldn't stand. "You don't need to," he replied. He guided her wheelchair onto the dance floor, not as a limitation but as an extension of her movement. With strength and precision he spun, dipped, and lifted the chair in perfect rhythm. Alara felt it: momentum, freedom, flight. The room fell silent. Then erupted. She wasn't the girl in the chair. She was the dancer again. 3 days later, Hurricane Isaac tore through Charleston. Against orders, Caleb raced through flooding streets to reach Alara. Her house was failing. A massive oak tree crashed through the roof, trapping her in the library. She screamed for help. He came. Caleb burst through shattered doors just as the ceiling began to collapse. With no time, he shielded her with his own body, taking the impact himself. Then he carried her through the storm to safety. The next morning, her family arrived, not with concern but control. They dismissed Caleb. Planned to take Alara away. Erase her independence. Alara finally snapped. She defended him. She defended herself. She chose her life. Caleb walked back, not as a savior but as a partner. Together, soldier, artist, and dog stood amid ruins, unbroken. Mission complete.